What is up, basketball fans? Welcome back to the Triple H podcast. Happy Hour Hoops. Loaded show today. Steve, Jake, and myself. We got the big three back in action. Last couple of weeks, we've had some guys on the injury report, but we're solid now. We're more solid than people slipping on the floor during warm-ups. We got the whole crew today. How we doing, fellas?
There's no load management here. Listen, if we're ready to go, we're ready to go. All right.
We only sit out with real injuries.
I'm doing great, Tony. Best time of the year. You know, we talked about it last week. We're in full swing. Conference terms of college basketball are in full swing. The NBA's getting crazy. These playoff races are wild. And I told you guys, I can't wait to talk about the East. The West, I'm absolutely disgusted, repulsed. I might take this jersey off the wall at this point. I might take this jersey off the wall. The West playoffs have just been an absolute mess, but I can't wait. It's, like I said, this is the best time of the year for basketball fans. It's March. Weather's getting a little warmer. Basketball's in full swing. And we got the full crew here again. We got the whole squad back. So what could be better?
Well, it could be better for Kevin Durant because we're starting in the news, folks. We're starting right off with it. We got to get the salty stuff, the sad stuff out of the way. Kevin Durant last night, I believe he was poised to make his Phoenix Suns home debut. I don't think he's even played a home game in front of Suns fans yet. Slipped on the court. Nasty when the still image that I think Al sent into our group chat this morning. The still image of him rolling his ankle was brutal, man. Flipped sideways.
Tough, man.
Found out this morning. Obviously, last night he didn't play. Found out this morning, grade 2 ankle sprain. We were talking about it just before we got on here. He's set to miss at least 4 to 6 weeks. Gonna miss the rest of the regular season. Probably going to miss sometimes early playoffs. And, above all, just having KD out of basketball longer, which we've already talked about earlier in this year, it just sucks. The NBA is better when KD's playing. But you got to be a little worried for the Phoenix Suns here. Like, if Kevin Durant misses a full series for this team, depending who they play, I mean, we might be a little worried, no?
I would be a little worried because what have we been saying about the Suns before they got Durant? And this is when they had Mikal Bridges. They just looked off a little bit at the start of this year. Mm-hmm. And I know Devin Booker's back, and that's obviously a big boost, and that's going to help. But we had concerns about them ever since the playoffs last year. The start of this year, they started slow, and we're like, KD's going to be the guy that's going to kind of fix everything, right? And now it's like, okay, you don't have Kevin Durant. You might not have him for the first series of the playoffs. You lost Mikal Bridges. Other guys got to step up, and they have to a point this year. Okogie and Torrey Craig have really stepped up when they needed to this year. But a lot's going to rely on Devin Booker again. And if Devin Booker can't be putting up those types of numbers he did in previous runs, it's a big question mark because right now, Donnie, we don't really know who the Suns are even going to go up against. The West is a mess from seed 2 all the way down to the play-in games. It's an absolute mess. We have no idea who they're going to go up against. You think the Suns would want to go up against a Warriors team with a healthy Steph Curry? Sure as hell would
right now.
That's what I'm saying. It's a mess right now. We really don't know what team they would go up against. I don't know if KD's not ready. And this is the thing, right? We don't even know if he'd be 100% even if he is ready for the first playoff series. So I think it's a huge concern, and it's a big concern for Suns fans, which have been on the roller coaster of season. But at one point after the KD deal, especially when he was coming back, you saw flashes in those couple games of, what this team could be, what the potential could be. As far as people saying, this team would take out the Nuggets in a series. And now, once again, we're back to square one where it's like, all right, the Suns just got to kind of figure it out.
Yep. What do you think, Jake?
I mean, I think they're kind of screwed, honestly. Like, they gave up all their depth. They traded all their wings for KD, and now they have, it's going to be really hard to guard for them the rest of the way. And I think the only benefit for them is the shape of the rest of the West, as you were mentioning there, Steve. It's just gross right now. Like the Grizzlies, who knows what they're going to be going forward, as we'll get into a little bit. Golden State is the best team in the league at home and consequently the worst team in the league on the road. So you literally, they better be a 4 seed at least in the first round. And then who knows, they Like, who knows what they're going to look like in the playoffs. The Clippers are fool's gold. Like, they look awesome one night, look like title contenders, and the next night look like they don't know how to play together. None of us are going to trust Minnesota. Like, I'm just going down the list. Like, all these teams have major flaws. And if you still have Devin Booker and, you know, Chris Paul, who can maybe do something the next month, I would hope that his best play, he was hopefully, I mean, if I was him, saving his like best play and his balls to the wall, like willing to go 35 minutes back-to-back nights and stuff for this time of year. Now he really needs to do it. It's just the shape of the West that might save them. But you look at their roster compared to these teams. I take most of the other teams without Kevin Durant on the court for the Suns. I'll take most of the other teams in the conference carried on paper.
Yeah, man. Like, the more we've brought it up from, you know, the first few seconds of the show, the more I realized the Suns would have no chance against a healthy Warriors team.
Yeah,
without KD. Without KD, of course.
Agreed.
Like, if Andrew Wiggins is back playing basketball, you have Steph back, you have obviously Draymond's been back, and Clay, and then these other guys who have kind of started to figure it out a little bit more. I think they're starting to get a little bit more production out of you know, the bench rotation guys that we've seen. Although I saw Andre Iguodala get some minutes the other night. He looked as old as he is out there. But no, on a serious note, like I really do not think the Suns team would stand a chance against, kind of like you guys were just saying. I don't know. I mean, unless they dropped in or somehow moved up and they find themselves playing a Timberwolves team, maybe I could see them get by there. But I mean, you go through the rest of the teams. If Ja's back, I don't think they beat the Grizzlies. I don't think they beat the Clippers. I don't think they beat the Mavs, even the Lakers. Like, this is you know, it's one freak thing that happens in warmups, and because of that, you know, that ante and that bundle that you gave up for Kevin Durant, this is the reality of it. You know,
Right.
it's one thing if it didn't work out in the next couple of years and you don't get a championship. Well, you don't really ever think of this situation where a guy gets hurt in warmups and it could affect the whole rest of your season. And here you are with no depth, no good defending wings. And yeah, it's just scary times for the Suns. And I guess we'll stay with the bad news, guys, right? I just mentioned the Grizzlies, so it made me think about Ja. And obviously, you know, this happened almost a week ago now, so we don't have to get into the craziness of it. We don't have to dive in too much here. But obviously, everyone knows the story by now. Ja Morant is missing games. At first, it was him stepping away from basketball. Now he's going to be away from the Grizzlies for at least 4 games. I think that's partial suspension, partial him stepping away. But Ja Morant, last Saturday night, I believe, or Friday night against Denver, he posted he was on Instagram Live flashing a gun shirtless in a club. Obviously wrong for a lot of different reasons. You know, we think back to the Gilbert Arenas days where he brought a gun into the locker room and was suspended 50 games. So now people are speculating that may happen to Ja Morant. I think the NBA is still trying to figure out how they're going to, you know, punish him and see what they're going to do with his future this season and maybe even further than that. And then also it's come out, you know, there's certain gun laws in Denver where the game was played, and the police are looking into it now. And just obviously it's been all over the news. Everyone's had their opinions. You know, I mean, you guys can say your opinion if you like. It's kind of past the opinion part for me. Like, obviously I think it was stupid. I think we've all read Ja's statement to the public that he put out on social media before hopping off social media for a while. I think it's a dumb decision. I think he knows that at this point, but it's also just crazy ramifications and crazy backlash that the Memphis Grizzlies as a whole are going to have to deal with. And, you know, they were kind of in the driver's seat outside of the Denver Nuggets. They were in a really good spot this year in the Western Conference, and now it's kind of collapsing. Their season's kind of collapsing just because of this one mistake from Ja Morant.
So there's a couple different ways to look at it. I'm going to look at it really high level. And the most unfortunate thing I think for Ja, even if obviously hoping he gets whatever help he needs in this situation, whatever's actually going on with Ja Morant, I think everybody just wants him, the main thing, to just figure it out and come out learning something from this, because there's just a pattern. Whatever you want to say about what he did, if he's guilty for all these things or not, whatever, the fact that he's continuously in these situations, even if he is not at fault for anything, which maybe he's not at fault for one or two things, but it's hard to believe that he's not at fault for all these things. But just to be in these situations, there are ways to avoid these situations that you go around. So that's the beginning of it. The fortunate thing is that people are going to have a stigma on Ja no matter what he does. He could become the biggest humanitarian in the world, and there are still going to be people who think of him a certain way because of this. And I think that's the unfortunate thing and the sad thing about this, because we just want Ja to be fun, right? Like the last couple of years, Ja was just a joy. Like I remember we talked about a lot on this podcast last year, how much we loved watching the Grizzlies, loved watching their team and everything else. And something has turned this whole year. And it isn't just Ja, it's the whole roster. There was a big talk last year about that, how they didn't have a lot of vets on there, how much of a vet presence should be on a team like that and everything else. And I think clearly you're seeing the ramifications of that. Like Steven Adams can't just hold, he's a big guy, but he can't hold all this crazy group of kids together. It's an unfortunate situation from that standpoint. Hopefully, obviously we want Ja to come out better from this, but it seems to be, and I think that smarter people who have been in these situations talking about it, and I'm talking about Jalen Rose and Carmelo Anthony, who said specifically poignant things from their personal experiences and being caught up in situations, that's like, you need to surround yourself with people and understand where you are in the totem pole of your life and everything like that. He's only 21, 22, whatever he is. If like, it's hard to have that kind of responsibility. So I think there's a lot of hope that Ja can come out of this, but if the consequences are 50 games because he flew on a team plane with a firearm, then that's the consequence he has to learn, and letting his team down, whatever, like that, hopefully that reforms him and makes him not do something like this again. But it's some crazy shit that's been said too. Like there is a way to come after Ja in the right way, but like there's clearly something else going on here too.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think a lot of it is with Ja in his own head, almost mentally or whatnot, because, this is an example. I know people make a joke of it, but he didn't kind of grow up in that type of life, right? Ja didn't really grow up in that type of life. And now you see him just getting in trouble again and again. And sometimes, you're someone inexperienced, you put in a bad situation and you can't help yourself. I will give Ja credit where he said he is going to try to get help. He's going to try to get help. And I think we can all agree. Take all the off-court things aside. Ja's a competitor on the court. He is someone who wants to win. He's not someone who's just going to check out of basketball. Yes, he's had a rocky road these past couple of weeks, a very rocky road. But Ja is someone who I truly believe, if he really wants to, focus on basketball and just get back to just basketball, he can do it. And maybe some time away from the team is good for him. Maybe a lengthy period of time is good for him. However, it's not good for the Memphis Grizzlies. It's not good for the Memphis Grizzlies at all. In whatever way you want to put it, they are a much better basketball team with Ja on the court than they are without. Even with all the distractions, the Grizzlies have lost 3 straight. I like Tyus Jones. He's a good player. He's not Ja Morant.
No.
So it's a really tough situation for the Grizzlies, because you have a player who, like we said, is the future of your team. This is a young player still that is a future superstar in this league for your team. And right now, you're just hoping he can get back to just playing basketball. And you have that giant distraction weighing on with your team's success. The Grizzlies, not only are they going to fall, down in the playoff, standings, they could potentially fall down to getting close to that play-in game, the way they've been playing lately. And this has not been the only thing that's been happening with the Grizzlies. You've had off-the-court issues the entire year. And like you said, Jake, I think it comes down to having just a lot of young players, a lot of inexperienced guys on the same team with no true leader. So I hope.
And I'm not hate, and this is not hate to the city of Memphis either, but that is a city that young kids can get in a lot of trouble in if they want.
Agreed.
It is a fun city. It is a lovely city. And it's a city like Miami, Houston, Atlanta, any of these cities where you can live a certain lifestyle if you want to, and that can get you in trouble in the NBA. Like it's endless. countless stories. This is not an out-of-pocket thing to say. This is a very like well-sourced thing. And I think that has something to do with it too, just like the entire environment that he is and not having those veterans. Keep going though, Steve.
And I was going to say too, you look at the other players on this team. You got Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson, two other examples who are big players on this team. They're not afraid to speak their mind. They're not afraid to run their mouth. They've all got a little bit of that cocky, arrogant swagger to them. This whole team does. Whether they deserve to have it or not, that's a whole nother question. But it's like you could just tell with this team. So this is just a really, really bad situation for these Grizzlies to be in, because it's not only like, yeah, you got to focus on still trying to get to the playoffs, getting your team back, but you have to care about Ja Morant and make sure that he's checked into this team, he's checked into basketball, and that he can put everything off the court aside and, learn and move on from that. And right now, the direction Ja has been heading in these past few weeks, he's trending downwards rather than upwards. And that's a really big concern to have for a superstar, franchise type player that could have been one of the faces in the NBA going forward.
Yeah, and how about just the day that, obviously it was Saturday morning, but the incident happened Friday night with Ja. But how about that Saturday morning? The Grizzlies, they have to put out a statement about Ja. Then a few minutes later, they announced Brandon Clark's out for the season with an injury.
Yep.
And then right after that, they announced that Dylan Brooks, he received his 16th technical the game before, and he will serve his suspension.
16 technicals in 60 games is insane.
Yeah.
It's
Dylan
insane.
Brooks,
Remember when
guy, Dylan Brooks? You're not that guy. I can't.
When Draymond got suspended in the finals, that was because it was his 16th technical that game. It was game 5 of the finals. The finals.
You know what's crazy though? Draymond already has 15 this year.
Well, is that surprising?
No. Because this is a perfect. Well, before we go, Grizzlies 4-7 without Ja Morant this year as well. So last year they were awesome without Ja. This year, not the same deal. This is perfect segue into the biggest story in the NBA that is not player related, and it is with Fred VanVleet, who went off last night, just Fred VanVleet in the nicest, most Canadian. He's not Canadian, but it was a very the most nicest, soft Canadian tone. Silently, absolutely eviscerated. We can talk if it's all officials. I think we know exactly who the official, or at least the one or two officials that he is targeting with this rant, and just completely went off on him. We could show it on here if we want to, whatever.
Yeah. I was gonna say I can pull it up and play.
Yeah, pull it up. But let's give some context to this the other night, because the Raptors had 2 games in Denver, right? They were 2 games back to back in Denver. So the Scotty incident happened there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah. So Scotty Barnes, it's 114, 113 late in the game. Scotty Barnes says something. It's not even clear. It's not an outburst at all. We do see him say something. He said he was talking to himself more than anything. Scott Foster kicks him out immediately with 48 seconds left in a 1-point game, kicking out arguably, Pascal's probably their best player, one of the best players in the end of this game. The Raptors end up losing. Scotty doesn't know why he gets kicked out. Fred VanVleet, he got a technical last night, right? Said shifted the momentum of the game, everything else. And then, Dunny, do you have this up, or is it loading up?
I got it queued up right here. So yeah, this is Fred's comments from last night. The beginning is by far my favorite part. But
it really is.
I don't mind. I'll take a fine. I don't really care. I thought, Ben Taylor was fucking terrible tonight. I thought that on most nights, a couple of the, out of the 3, there's 1 or 2 that just fucked the game up, and it's been like that a couple games in a row. Denver was tough, obviously. You come out tonight, you're competing pretty hard. The third quarter, I get a bullshit tech, changes the whole dynamic of the game, changes the whole flow of the game. And, most of the refs are trying hard. I like a lot of the refs are trying hard. They're pretty fair. They communicate well. And then you got the other ones who just want to be dicks and just kind of fucks the game up. Nobody's coming to see that shit. They come to see the players. And I think we're losing a little bit of the fabric of what the NBA is and was. And it's been disappointing this season. You can look up most of my texts this year have been with Ben Taylor officiating. So at a certain point as a player, you feel it's personal, and it's never a good place to be. That's not why we lost tonight. We got outplayed, but it definitely makes it tougher to overcome.
And that was Fred VanVleet.
Yeah.
Wild, bro. I say I love the beginning because he went about it, and not only did he not like lose his cool at all, and he was literally just speaking the most truth he possibly could on how he felt. And I love just how he gets, I'm probably going to get a fine for this, but I don't care. Like he just, he doesn't leave it up for discussion. He's most definitely getting fined, but he was just as real can be. Speaking for so many other players, one of which happened to be Marcus Smart, because he got asked at just practice today because the Celtics are about to go on a road trip. He got asked today about his foul trouble lately. He's been taken out of games, not because he fouled. Well, he fouled out on Sunday night, and then Wednesday night, last night, he was in foul trouble early. They asked him about that. He said, "I'm going to let Fred do all the talking for me," referring to that clip because obviously he saw it when he woke up this morning. And yeah, it's just
who was the ref for you guys last night? Do you remember?
I honestly don't remember the officiating crew, to be honest with you.
Okay, that's a good thing.
Did you guys see what Giannis said too? Giannis post-game press conference after the refs were terrible in that game. I forget which game it was, and they were asking Giannis about it. And he starts talking a little bit. And he's like, "Wait a sec." He goes, "If I talk about the refs on here, will I get fined?" He's like, "If I talk about how bad the refs were, will I get fined?" And they're like, "Yeah, you'll get fined like 20,000 or something." He's like, "Okay, I won't say anything about the refs. I got diapers to pay for." But it's like all these, and it's the most Giannis answer ever. But it's like all these players are basically saying, "Yo, these refs stink." And it's not all of them, but it is a select group where it's not just a few players now. You're starting to hear kind of not just the vocal minority. You're starting to hear a lot of players not only defend other players, but also make their comments too, whether it's post-game press conferences, sideline reporting, whatever it is. They're just making these small comments where they're like, the refereeing right now is just not what it needs to be.
Hey, man. It's crazy that you can look at the refs of a certain game and know if you think your team is going to win the game or not. It's stupid. The only other sport that I've ever seen that baseball, it happens a little bit just because of strike zones, but it's strike zones. It's not because of like, judgment calls and and basketball is interesting. It's like the most interesting sport with the like connection with referees because they can change so much. Like they're literally awarding you points more. There's no other sport where a ref is just like, here, go get a point for free. Like it doesn't happen anywhere else. And it's so intimate with like seeing these guys every single time you go out too and everything. But the fact that we know who the refs, like Ben Taylor, one of the worst refs in the NBA, Zach Zarba, one of the worst refs. Zarba had my game. Didn't he have Celtics? I think he had Celtics Cavs on Monday.
Think he did. He's probably my
horrible,
least favorite.
Horrible. We're texting during this game. The refs are fucking us both in this game. Like literally just agreeing that the refs are just horrible in this game. Like Scott Foster, as we talked about at the top, Scott Foster has been like a main character on this podcast because of how bad of a referee he is. Like it shouldn't be that way. It should not be that way in this sport. It's ridiculous.
Dude, Scott Foster like influences betting lines in some cases. That's like
the Chris Paul Scott Foster trend is
I bet against him every time. I've made so much money off that. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that is a good point. Like it's not only are the players, do they have specific names of guys, and like VanVleet even went the extra mile to compliment the other referees. He's like, they're just out here doing their job. They're nice. They speak their minds, this and that. But like the fact that fans have the specific refs they can call out on a dime. And it's like, and not even like casual basketball fans know the whole Scott Foster deal. Mm-hmm. And then players obviously have their own specific guys. And then the fact that those guys align, like we're all talking about the same 3-4 dudes here. Definitely makes you raise an eyebrow at the NBA. I'm interested to see, like, obviously VanVleet's going to get a hefty fine from the NBA, but I wonder, if we do see a little change and, I mean, you'd have to assume Scott Foster is probably on his way out soon anyway. He's getting up there, but I don't know. I don't think this saga's over between players speaking their mind like that and then referees kind of targeting certain players. I'm sure we'll see more of it.
Well, it sure hell ain't gonna help Fred VanVleet get any calls going forward. That's for sure. Fred's not getting any calls.
No, he's not getting that treatment. He's not getting that treatment.
I'm sure Nurse was pissed about that. He's like, how are we supposed to scrape and claw our way into the playoffs if you're doing some dumb shit like that?
They did. I mean, the Scotty ejection was one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Like,
he didn't even move. Like he didn't whatever he said should have been allowed to be said because it was not demonstrative. And even if you should be allowed to like say some.
He got like chased off the court, dude.
And then he's like yelling him like going out, go out. Like it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that was wild.
He's a menace, dude. Scott Foster is a menace.
Something a little more wild. Also found on social media. I was cracking up reading this. LeBron James tweet referring to his son Bronny James. I should have had the tweet pulled up for you guys, but I'm sure most basketball fans, if you're listening, you probably saw LeBron's tweet. But he was basically just saying he was watching League Pass. And he said it was, what did he say? It was lightweight hilarious.
Hilarious. Yeah.
He's lightweight the same way as low key. He said it's lightweight hilarious. Like Bronny's better than these guys or something along those lines. Basically saying that Bronny's better than some of the bench guys you will see in your casual Tuesday night League Pass game. Which
was he talking about Grant Williams? Was he talking about
No.
Grant? That is what the internet believes that he was talking about Grant.
Because I don't think the Celtics had a League Pass game anytime recently.
No, because he tweeted it Monday night. It was late Monday night is when he tweeted it, and it was after the Cavs Celtics game. So Grant is like the plus 300 favorite, I think, of who Bron's
I feel like that's wild.
And Bron definitely hates Grant Williams. You know that.
He definitely hates
Grant Williams because even the Celtics don't even like Grant Williams. So LeBron's not gonna like him.
Yeah, Grant's a touchy subject for Celtics fans right now.
He is.
Tony, watch that.
I mean, you got how much time you got? But I think that'd be pretty crazy if that's who he was talking about because I'm fine with saying this. I don't think Bronny's a better basketball player than Grant
No,
Williams
he's not
right
better.
now.
No, he's not better. Mind you, can we also?
I do think there is guys on the back of benches that Bronny is better than.
LeBron jinxed Bronny because he said this, and then Bronny got fucking torched in his state semifinal on Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. So I think LeBron really he did Bronny no favors here.
He put all that negative karma.
Dude, did you see what happened? Did you guys hear what happened?
No.
The kid, I don't remember the kid's name. I'll look it up quick. But kid, he's a Duke commit, scored 28 points in the game. And after the game, he had a shirt already ready that said 0-4 because they beat Sierra Canyon 4 times this year.
What a legendary move. Holy
It was awesome.
If only he wasn't going to Duke. I'd root for that kid. Can't root for him now. But.
Caleb Foster is his name.
Damn.
Yeah, let me find this quote quick. Oh no, this is the wrong article. But yeah, he like a towel ready or something, all ready to go. It said, "Oh,
that's baller."
That's a savage move right there.
That is kind of crazy to think about, though, that Bronny is even 0-4 to one singular team this year in high school. It's like, yes, I believe he's going to be good, and I think he's going to have a great college career, and he'll probably be good in the pros because he's LeBron James' son. But I feel like for how much hype he gets and for how high of a standard he's held to, it's kind of wild to even think that you can get that this kid could get cooked in a game like that and go 0-4 to the same team. But besides the point,
what's crazy
just me talking high school ball.
You know what's crazy to me though, and that's like exactly like you're mocking yourself for that, but there are dudes in Twitter replies that are like when Bronny got ranked number 9 this week on Max Preps or whatever, they're like, no way he's number 9. It's like, dude, there's no way you random kid.
Dude, you haven't watched
Mike 784. You've not watched any Bronny tape ever. How do you know what? Like,
well,
how
not
are you
even
telling
just
the
Bronny
scouts?
tape. just not even Bronny. The guys around him. You want to argue who's not there. You got to watch them all. You got to watch them all if you want to rank them.
That's weird behavior for sure, bro.
Like how are you gonna tell Draft Express on ESPN that he's wrong? Like, what are we talking about?
Right.
But anyways, I do think that the Bron, definitely Caleb Foster himself saw that and was like, "Oh, you think your kid's ready for the league?" and wanted to come out and just torch him. Man. Yeah. That sucks for Bronny.
Also, classic LeBron not playing has to get in the spotlight. Classic. Yeah. It's classic LeBron.
And you know what? And to bring attention probably to Bronny in that moment that game's going, just get Bronny in everybody's minds, like talking about it. He's got a method to everything.
He always does.
Psycho. That tweet's been in the drafts. That tweet's been in the drafts for like 2 years. He's just been waiting until he was close enough. Since not even 2 years. Like since Bronny was like 12, he's like, I'm gonna rip this one day.
He has one for Bryce too. Ready to send out next
Bryce
year.
is locked in. You thought Bronny was good? Wait till you see. Ready, just sit.
Yeah, next year it's gonna be damn. Bryce is so much better than some of these guys at the end of Bronny's bench in college.
Bryce should be on the court with Bronny right now. This is ridiculous.
It's wild, man.
Oh man.
All right, let's get to this last team here. We have 2 more injuries to talk about, but this is an injury that could plummet another team in the Western Conference. We got Zion Williamson out at least another 2 weeks. Is the Pelicans season toast? That is my question to you guys. Actually, let's rank who is the most toast out of these 3 teams. The Suns, the Grizzlies, or the Pelicans? It's probably obviously the Pelicans.
No, they're toast because Zion has not ever been healthy. And it's happening again. Like, it's so fun to watch. I saw something
today. He's averaged 23 and a half games played since he's come into the league.
Yeah,
we should have known once his shoe blew up, guys. We should have known he was cursed when his shoe blew up in that game.
I know.
That's we should have known. It was the omen that we should have seen. It's so sad because they could be so good.
He just can't stay healthy. I mean, I think the obvious answer is the Pelicans, but I mean, my eyes are on the Grizzlies. They're slipping, and if Ja does not come back, the Grizzlies are not. I don't think you take Ja off the Grizzlies, they're not a playoff team.
It's a cursed draft. It's a cursed draft.
I know. Trust me.
1 and 2.
Also,
1 and 2.
You guys know
from a couple years ago. It's insane.
From the trading card side of it, the hobby side of it, the difference in the demand and just the hype around the 1920 class chasing Ja and Zion's to now, it's crazy. It's actually crazy because you have one guy, you're like, is he going to play again due to health? And then you have another guy, can I trust him to play because of off the court issues? Yeah. And it's like,
dude,
it's not just two.
I would love for you to give me what the highest of a Duke Zion was even before the draft and now, because the difference has to be scary. Like,
you don't want to know what Zion.
The difference is like a luxury car, probably. Like a car.
Probably more than that. You don't want to know the hype that Zion had when he was getting drafted into the league. God. But it's just tough too, and I say this too as just basketball fans. These were potentially 2 of the most exciting guys we'd see in the next 10 years. Yeah. So it's just really tough to see that they're both obviously going through completely different situations, but it's keeping them both off the basketball court, and that's just really, really tough to see. Zion especially, I mean, is he just too big for the way he plays, right? He's such a violent player? Is that really what it is? I don't know.
Is he ever taking it seriously? Is it him? Is it him just not
that too?
Putting in the work?
That question as well.
Because he got in that good shape, whatever, that the picture is cool, whatever, but it's managing it through the year too.
Agreed.
Maybe it's just the gumbo. Maybe he just can't play in New Orleans.
It might be.
Yo, New Orleans.
Gumbo's good down there.
Have y'all ever been to New Orleans? Because I've
had gumbo.
I would be 20 pounds fatter if I was in New Orleans. And Chicago is that kind of city too. Like, you definitely there's a lot of good stuff here, but New Orleans
deep pizza.
No, I'm not. Deep dish is cool, but it's not pizza. It's like
it's lasagna. It's a deep dish.
Lasagna, yeah. It's great.
Though. Jake, no run-ins with Pat Bev yet?
No Pat Bev yet. I'll report back. I may be going to the Big Ten championship on Sunday though. So maybe see somebody there. That would be cool.
Nice.
Pat might roll through to that if he doesn't have a game.
Nice little
on the road.
upset today. So Iowa's out. So I'm hoping that
Ohio
my
State.
plan is I'm waiting out the tickets though because I just think they're just going to keep going down as teams get eliminated. Try to sneak in there for like $3 or something into the United Center, but that's where I think we'll get to see some Bulls, but no Pat Bev yet.
Nice.
I need to get down. I feel like he's gonna do
Yeah.
like a live. He's gonna do like a live podcast at Barstool River North or something, and I'll go check them out there.
That'd be dope.
Yeah.
Talking Chicago, Jake. Do we want to be sad here with Chicago? Another guy who's hasn't been on the basketball court in a while.
I've given up on Lonzo.
It's just
I gave up on
sad.
Lonzo like 6 months ago. It's just I've seen this story happen. It sounds like Greg Oden to me. It's just a degenerative knee that just it's not going to respond. Like he's whatever his best case is like Sean Livingston at this point, whereas his knee was so fucked that he lost all explosiveness and he just turns into like the smartest basketball player ever, which Lonzo could be. Could be.
Similar builds, I guess. Kind of similar game because Sean was kind of a little more like Lonzo before Sean's injury.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it sucks. It sucks for Lonzo Ball. It really does. And it, knock on wood here, but like LaMelo, obviously not to the same degree, but like he's been having the same injury issues since he's came in the league.
The whole time, yeah.
Yep, and just nagging stuff that really can't keep him on the court. This one with Lonzo though is just strange, man. Like
they've had 6 opinions.
And
they don't know what's wrong with it.
Crazy.
Like that's insane.
Like doctors telling him he shouldn't feel pain, and he's saying, I still have crazy irritation in my knee. It's tough, and it just makes the landscape of the Bulls a lot harder to look at and then to also process. We were all three of us were shocked that a deal wasn't made at the deadline for this team. Obviously, they bring in Pat Bev and a bio, but that's not a long-term answer to anything. It's fine for right now, but Vucevic is only getting older. DeRozan's older. Levine, how much does he have left of that explosiveness? I mean, it's looking real bad for Chicago. We might see a blow up for the Bulls, and you guys might see a blow up here in these next few minutes because me and Jake are going to do a little Homer Corner segment. Get some Cavs, Celtics.
All right, so Steve, this is what you have to do is you have to give us out of 1 to 10 after we go on our little thing here.
I can't wait. Yeah, because I'm not. I refuse.
How much we're overreacting? Yeah, Steve's not toning it, but you have to tell us how much we're overreacting.
All right,
Tony, do you want to go first?
I'll be the unbiased.
I'll go first. So with the Celtics, and this honestly came about because, as you know, the Cavs beat the Celtics in overtime to go. What, you guys are 3?
Yes, but see, you
1.
you guys got so mad about that when you were missing 3 starters. I think that was.
It was just the way it happened. I think if we had lost and it didn't happen that way, I would have been way less angry.
That's fair.
And it's also what I was going to say is that going into the game, we had blown a 28-point game against Brooklyn at home and then a 14-point lead, which I was at in person, another overtime loss against the New York Knicks when they didn't have Jalen Brunson. So just a few ugly losses and then another ugly loss on Wednesday night to the Cavaliers because Grant Williams, all he had to do was make 1 free throw and we most likely go home. You guys had to go to the length of the court in like 4 seconds, I think. He missed them both. You guys win the ball game. And it's just weird because the Celtics, the last week or so, aside from last night, they had a good team win last night, but it was the Blazers. Aside from the last week, they were amazing on the season. We know, the start of the season they had was incredible. Their month of November was like nothing we've ever seen. And they're starting to look like in this last week a little bit like how they looked at the beginning of last year, where it was like, okay, they have all this talent. Do the Jays need to be split up? Something's not working here. And obviously it's not to that degree because they are still the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. But, the blown leads, and this is a team that had this crazy defensive identity last year. Where did that go? It's just some games, it's almost like puzzling. It's like, why isn't this working? Like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are so good, and then it's like these bonehead mistakes at the end of games where they'll have these crazy bad turnovers where it's like if you just held onto the ball, you win that game, or you can't get defensive stops against a Brooklyn team that best player is Mikal Bridges, and then a real big drop off after that. And then the New York Knicks, like you lose a game against the Knicks in overtime at home, haven't beat the Knicks all season, and then you lose without Jalen Brunson. You let Emmanuel Quickly and Julius Randle just absolutely beat you down. So, the bounce back against Portland definitely tamed my rant a little bit last night. Tatum had 30 and 3/4, super efficient shooting. Got the dub, easy win, double digits, and now we go on a huge 6-game road trip here against not so bad opponents, but it's tough to win on the road in this league. So positivity is a little back on, but I'm definitely eyebrow raised at this team in general, and how much they want to fight, how much they want to win, the defensive intensity, and then Joe Mazzulla, because he's super young, first-year head coach. He's done great up until this point, but those slip-ups happen, the double-digit losses, 3 losses in a row, all those things. Obviously, some of it falls on the coach. So maybe the big thing out of this is just keeping a closer eye on Mazzulla and see how he responds, because more than anything, I trust the core of this Celtics team.
I'll be honest, Jake. I'm probably going to give you the win by default because I don't think Dunny needs to be concerned about this Celtics team, and for a number of reasons. I get it. There's a bump in the road. If you're gonna have that though, right? You are always gonna have your ups and downs with the team, and the Celtics had really no problems in the first half of the season, besides just 1 or 2 weird games here or there. Just no problems. If you want to get it out, Dunny, now's the perfect time to get it out, right? To just have those little kinks, just those weird things that are happening. Now's the time to get it out before the playoff starts. We know the Celtics can be one of the top seeds in the Eastern Conference. We know they have the experience. And the biggest reason why I'm not concerned about the Celtics is their 2 best players, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, are having their 2 best individual seasons of their career. And that right there, I think, is the biggest reason why I'm not concerned. It'd be one thing if they were really struggling a little bit, but like you said, Dunny, it's just been a lot of stupid mental stuff. It's been a lot of really dumb mistakes, kind of collapsing leads. I can forgive the Celtics for that because they check every single other box. The defense has been concerning, but the defense hasn't really been what it was last year, really at any point this season. So I'm okay with the Celtics. I think coming up, like you said, Dunny, they got a 6-game road trip, and they're playing some really bad defenses in there, which include the Rockets, the Trailblazers, the Kings, the Hawks. If they lose, like let's say they 3-3, okay, that might be a little bit like a yellow flag. They go 2-4, maybe a red flag there. But I think this is kind of where it's going to have the Celtics. It's a long road trip, kind of get you back in the swing of things. I'm not concerned. I'd be concerned if everyone was playing bad on the Celtics, but their stars are still playing well. They've just had weird games. And like you said, against the Cavs, I know it was the way they lost, but look at the roster they had going up there. And I know they blew a big lead, and I know they had the stinker against the Knicks. I know they blew a big lead before with the Nets game. But you got to look at the roster they threw out there. I still think top to bottom, if you're looking at like maybe an 8-man rotation that every single playoff team could do, not many teams can really have what the Celtics have with their rotation. They have the best guard depth, I believe, in the NBA. They have that superstar with Tatum, and they have a secondary superstar with Jaylen Brown, who could be the guy on, I would say, half of the teams in the league, right? If it was just his team. So I don't really have too many concerns for the Celtics. I know it is, a little bit concerning, but Jake, we got to remember who we're talking to. We're talking to a Boston fan. They only know winning. You got the Bruins, who I don't even think have double-digit regular season losses yet. The Patriots have won more Super Bowls in Dunny's lifetime than I bet everyone else is going to see in their lifetime, right? And the Celtics they've just been the Celtics are just successful. The Celtics just win. They had a 1 or 2 seasons, we're not good. And then they're just winning championships again. So we got to remember, Jake, we're talking to a Boston fan here. He only knows a 55-win Celtics team here. So he sees one struggle loss. He's like, uh-oh, this team might be doomed. Dunny, you'll be all right. You'll be okay. All right, Dunny. You'll be all right.
Thank you for the kind words, Steve. You needed that.
I think the only valid question you have is what does Joe Mazzulla do in these situations?
Yes.
And that's just an unknown. It doesn't mean that he's going to be bad in these playoff situations. We just haven't seen it. And we know, and the thing is, he is either fairly, he's going to be compared to Ime in those situations the whole time. And you talked about the defensive identity. That might have been it too, but this team was special offensively to start the year. Special. And it doesn't look like it's that, except for the fact, here's where I will turn into my rant as I will start it off. That your team with 3 players missing, at least at the start of this game, the Cavs figured it out in the second half. I don't think the Cavs figured it out. I think the Celtics. I think the main reason the Celtics lost that game is it was a road back-to-back and they were just tired. If it was a normal game, they would have ran the Cavs out of the building.
Played 41 minutes the game,
and then he played like 45 again against the Cavs, like something crazy. The Cavs are the best defense in the NBA. They are 23rd best defense defending the 3-point in the NBA. There's something very wrong with that and something very skewed about how good they are defensively. I think people are getting caught up in that because if you're worth the 23rd, like I have a screenshot of it on my phone. I should have pulled it up first because I looked this up the other day because I was so mad and I was like, I need to know that like my eyes are not deceiving what I've watched all year because this team like randomly, yes. So right here, they are in the midst, the worst team in the league. San Antonio lets up 39% from 3, which is just horrible. But the Cavs let up 37% from 3 on the year. That's an elite 3-point shooter. They are letting up from 3 the year. They are in line with defensive juggernauts like the Houston Rockets, 37.5 points. The Indiana Pacers actually in there, Brooklyn 37.3, Portland, Minnesota. Like these are teams that are not like the best defensive teams in the league. They're getting torched. They're getting torched on the perimeter. And it's an issue that I think has as much to do with the problem they have offensively. And it is that when they play Jared Allen and Evan Mobley together, they have problems guarding the perimeter and they have problems creating offense from the perimeter. They can't Garland and Mitchell. What I tell you guys, they can't guard shit. That's my biggest concern before trading for Donovan Mitchell. I told you I didn't want it to happen because they won't be able to guard anything. And you know what they can't do? They can't guard shit. They don't do anything. They don't get in anybody's face. They don't, and the guards will get what they want. So it's a lot of pressure on Mobley and Allen. They're great down low defensively, but when you stretch them out, they are not great perimeter defenders. Mobley's much better than Allen. Yeah. But Dunny, they were putting Allen in actions all night and then just pulling up on him because he just would drop and he would not come up on them. And they're just Muscala's drilling in his face. Everybody's just drilling in Jared Allen's face. And I'm sitting here losing my mind, as you guys know. And it's just the realization in that game also. Jared Allen, no Robert Williams, no Al Horford. Jared Allen should be dominating that game, and he has 5 points offensively. And it's because
I think he ended the game with 5 rebounds too.
Yeah, and it's because only him and Mobley. What happened, and this is why I'm not as angry as I was the other night, because last night the Cavs, I think JB looked at that game and was as angry as all the Cavs fans were while watching that game. They played 8 guys. They sat Seti, they sat Dean Wade, and it was Lamar Stevens, Ricky Rubio, and Karis LeVert on the bench, and that's it. And what that means is that they're playing small ball. They want to play basically Mobley and Allen as the bigs. They're going to play small and get as much shooting around them and everything. And that is a failure on the team build because Mobley, and that's saying that your best way, not a failure, I shouldn't say, but right now, the way that they are the best team that they can be is if those two are not on the floor together. And one of those dudes is a number 4 overall pick and one's a $100 million man. And that's not a situation that is sustainable. But the Cavs right now, I think JB did a smart thing last night, is that he's like, well, I can't keep trying to be these 2 different things. I can't try to be 2 different teams. I need to just lean into my fastball, lean into this small ball and this slug it out defensive team. Hope that Mitchell and Garland can create enough offense on their own that will be competitive in these games. And one of them could go off for crazy points. Hope Mobley keeps doing what he's doing and just make it ugly. And just that's the only thing they can do. But if they get into any kind of firefight at this point with Boston, Philly, Milwaukee, they're going to get run out of gyms because they can't guard the perimeter and they can't score to keep up with these teams. And that's why I think that eventually there is an Allen issue that I was talking about before that they have to really look at in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up good points, Jake. I think, like you said, the biggest agreement I have with you with the biggest concern is just stretching the floor both offensively and defensively with Mobley and Allen up there at the same time. And I talked about how Mobley is getting a little more aggressive offensively, and I like that. And he's starting to shoot a little bit more, but he's still shooting 20% from three. He's still not really a threat from the outside. And we know, as much as I love Jared Allen, he is a 0% threat outside of the paint. So it is tough. And I think, too, like, I think that if you look at the Cavs, Garland, Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, whatever order you want to put them in, Mobley and Allen are two of your four best players. And coming up in the playoffs, if they're going to go with this short rotation, small ball rotation, and you're going to play the majority of the game with not all of your four best players on the court at the same time, that is a big concern. That is a big concern.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but that's still a big concern. And I wouldn't call it a failure of a roster build, but it's just not good.
No, and that's too far too, because it's a roster that can
Right.
work, but they're leaning into this weird lineup and this weird short lineup because they don't really have a better option. And the thing I want to cut off too is that Kevin Love is not the better option, people.
No.
He wasn't making that rotation either.
No.
I've seen too much of that shit too.
Yeah.
That's
but that is the thing. That's the biggest concern, because now when you look at these playoff series, when you're facing teams like Boston, like Milwaukee, like Philly, like New York, you're relying on Donovan Mitchell to score 35-40 a night, and you shouldn't have to do that with the team you have. So I think
the benefits too. I think the benefits too of sitting those guys is that they looked at LeVert, Wade, and Osman. And we're like, all of these guys are inconsistent. They're like, none of these, we don't know which one of them is going to do anything on any given night. So let's just play Karras because he's the best one out of the group. And he's not consistent, but he has the highest upside. And he is probably I'd say Dean Wade's probably the best defender, but Karras hasn't been a bad defender all year. I think that's that's the only lineup. And I should mention Lamar Stevens in there, who just literally came out of nowhere and tortured Dunny on Monday night with like 7 offensive rebounds.
Played so well.
And that's what he does. He shows up and he's ready all the time. And I think that he earned his spot.
He's one of those guys that just shows up in spots when you never expect him to and plays well. That's why all Cavs fans love Lamar Stevens.
Oh, he's
he's
my favorite
he just
player,
kind of shows up when they need him to show up the most, even though you don't expect it. And he just plays great basketball. Yeah. I mean, that's why they love Lamar Stevens. Is he one of the best players? No. Should he probably start? No. But he is someone who comes off the bench, and he's just one of those guys that just in the right spots when everything else is going wrong. In that game for the Cavs, Lamar Stevens was going right.
It's crazy, man. And it's just, we'll see. I'd rather ride out an 8-man rotation, honestly. I'm very much in favor of shortening the bench when it comes down to this time. So if that's JB's answer and that's what he wants to try out, because they're in a battle right now, like they can move up. They are still keeping pace with Philly just enough that they're within striking distance, but they're in like a no man's land because they're like 2.5 back of Philly. So it's like a little too far to really just catch up in a week, or it's going to be like a 2-week thing. And New York's behind them and they're kind of on their tails, but they're also 2.5 games back. So it's like, they really, if they're just even, they're probably going to be fine, but they can make some moves up here if they want to get back to how they were playing. But if you look at the biggest concern that I have is you look at the last month of the schedule, they haven't beaten a good team. The last good team that last night was a good win, but they haven't beaten a good team since the Grizzlies. And we know what the fuck's going on with the Grizzlies right now. And before that, it's going back into like January, and that's a problem.
Yeah, man. I'm glad. It is funny that you get to a point in this season, Jake. I feel like me and you emotionally were on the same page during that Cavs Celtics game. Like, we're 60+ games in here.
You know what you need to get from your team. Yeah,
we've been good sports, fucking putting up with bad losses earlier in the year. You know, we've had the highs, we've had the lows, but now it's like, okay, kind of like, I think what you said resonated too. It's like, give me that 8-man rotation and please stick to it, because I need to know who I'm going to be watching in the playoffs. Like, I'm kind of at a similar page. Like, I really like the Celtics bench, but it is troubling some games. Like, is it going to be Grant again in the playoffs this year? or like Hauser's been playing out of his mind lately. He's been actually defending, which I didn't think he could do. He had 2 blocks last night against the Trailblazers. Blake Griffin's been putting his body on the line every time he's on the court for the Celtics. So it's like, what does that 8-man rotation look like? What are the answers going forward now? And yeah, I think me and you got to that point wondering that about our respective teams. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
It's getting to that time. It's just getting to that time of year too, where it's like, it's all fun. It's all fun. Like when you're especially when you're like cruising at the top and you're just like, oh, like whatever, like we're the 4th seed, but we'll make to the play, or we're the 1 seed or 2 seed all year. We'll be fine, whatever. And then you start getting close to it and you understand the ramifications of every game and everything. You're like, oh fuck no. Like there is that turn. It's March. Yeah, it's just March, baby. March. It hits this is the best NBA March we've ever had. Like we've talked about that a couple weeks ago, I think, and it's definitely shaping up for that. Definitely shaping up.
Yeah, it's awesome. To end the news here, we already talked about. It's funny, that was definitely the longest news and notes segment we've ever had. But we already talked about both these guys. But did you guys see Draymond's thoughts on Dylan Brooks on his podcast from yesterday? Yeah, so that I thought that was so crazy because I think like a week ago or like a week and a half ago, Dylan Brooks was asked about Draymond, and he basically was like, "Oh, like Draymond's game's cool, but it's not for me." Like he said that Draymond talked too much and this and that, and Draymond basically just came at him with every receipt possible. Like he said that he got too many. Like Brooks said that he got too many technicals. This is how I knew the thing about Draymond only having one less. He was like, yeah, I got 1 less than your dumbass, and like was just coming at Dylan Brooks, dropping the 4-time NBA champion, 4-time All-Star, Defensive Player of the Year. He was like, you'd be talking way more than me if you had any of those awards under your belt. And now those two get to play each other tonight. So I'm looking forward to that Grizz Warriors game right when we finish recording here. But yeah, I think it was, as much as I dislike Draymond and the shit talking he can do sometimes, it's even worse when Dylan Brooks does it. And it was kind of nice to see Draymond put him in his place there.
I think they're just one of my favorite things in the world, wrestling. I think that they're just both healing it up, knowing that they got a big matchup coming up. You're coming to the town. They're like, we just got to hype this up, and just decided to give a little chirps at each other, just make it a little more interesting. TNT ain't gonna complain about it, that's for sure. They're happy as can be. And Draymond, a TNT employee, just saying.
Yeah, true. Yeah, boost those numbies for the game tonight. Neither of these two teams that we just talked about will be in our Happy Hour Hoops power rankings. No, but that is what we have for you guys now. The power rankings are here for this week. At number 1, with new number 1 this week, the Milwaukee Bucks.
Wow. On an absolute I think it's the tear. First time.
Yeah, I think it is
so too. Their win streak was snapped, but they're already back on another 2-game win streak. I mean, there's not much to say. I feel like we've tried to keep them out of the spot because of they win boring, and they will continue to win boring whether we like it or the rest of the NBA likes it or not. So they deserved it. And then I thought with the lull that the Celtics have been on, it was time for them to get knocked down a few notches. That's why the Denver Nuggets are number 2. I think they deserve it. I mean, Jokic, between what he's doing on the court, him being in all the MVP talks, him having to try to block out all the craziness that comes from First Take every day talking about him.
Oh, my God.
It's been a week.
It's actually the worst, yeah.
It's been a week.
So I think, they were deserving of number 2 for that reason. I'm sure you guys agree.
Yep.
Celtics, I mean, what do you guys think? Do I have the C's too high, too low?
No, I put them
they're right.
I wouldn't drop them. I think you can still make the argument Celtics at 2, but I wouldn't drop them lower than 3.
Gotcha. And then Philly. I mean, Philly's. Oh, I do want to talk about James Harden, man. Like I got to give credit where credit's due. James Harden is.
You've seen it. You know when that game turns from regular season to playoffs, the equation changes for James Harden.
I'm right there with
March.
you. I'm right there with you, Jake, because they're doing the same thing they do every year. They're teasing us, Donnie. He's getting red hot at the right time. Everyone's falling in love with Philly again. And then they're going to disappoint with an early exit in the playoffs. It happens all the time.
Donnie,
I know, Donnie,
you should want
Harden flowers, but come on, Donnie. How many times have we seen this story?
Donnie, the 2 seed is your dream. You guys would mentally dominate James Harden in a playoff series, and that would be the easiest walk to the conference finals to hopefully the Cleveland Cavaliers, but probably the Milwaukee Bucks in that scenario.
I just think over the last week, him having the 38-point game and then the 20 assist game, like I guess I thought those Harden days were behind us because of what we saw last year, and we're like, yeah, he's still good, but is he that? Like, can he ever be the Houston James again? And obviously not for a full season. But I think it is just crazy. Like,
do you guys know that? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do you know that like it's like the biggest rumor in NBA circles or like well thought source rumors that he's going to Houston in the offseason? Like he wants that's where he's gonna go.
I keep seeing that.
Russillo and Bill Simmons were talking about it, and they said it on to LA, like everybody just knows it's happening.
That's interesting. That'd be really interesting.
The Houston Rockets, who we were just gonna bring in all that. What's he gonna do? Just put up his 40 and 20 that he like? What is the point? Anyway, sorry, Danny. That's just crazy to me.
No, I just think that the Embiid Harden thing is like clicking in a way that not many of us saw happening. Or at least not to this degree, but you're right. Like it probably is just, and not that I care if the Sixers burn and mess this up, but it does seem like it's working. But you guys are probably right where it's going to come back to bite them in the ass. And I don't know. I guess individually, I just want to give Harden for those few performances the last couple weeks. I mean, 20 assists in a game is crazy.
That's impressive.
Here's the question.
That was his second time getting 20 this year, right? Second time getting 20 this year. That's crazy.
Here's my question for you, Dunny. Do you think Sixers right now? Yes, they do.
Wait, what'd you say? Sorry, you skipped a little bit.
Oh, my bad. Do you think trust James Harden?
You skipped again. I missed it. Steve, is this me?
Yeah, no, it skipped on me too. It
Can
must
you
be
hear
a
me now?
question.
Good.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Yeah? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think Sixers fans trust James Harden?
Oh, no. Yes, because they're delusional. I think they do.
No way.
It's either yes because they're delusional. No, but here's the thing. That's perfect because it's either no way or it's yes because they're delusional, and both of those are right. Both of those answers are right because either they're delusional or they're right, and it's no. You shouldn't trust James Harden. That was my loaded question. Bro. I can hear you guys. I don't know what the fuck happened.
Yeah, no, you skipped that a little bit. My bad. I thought I didn't know what you said the first time. I don't know what happened, but I do think they trust him, and I think it's because of those games. I think all they have to really worry about is how well Embiid does, and they're like, oh, Embiid's in the MVP conversation. James Harden's our second best player, and look how good he is. And these 20 assist games or 38-point games he can put up. And they haven't had it yet. They haven't had him in the playoffs yet. They don't know what's coming. So I think for right now, they're bought in. They're like, they probably think they're the best team in the Eastern Conference right now. They also, them getting to snap Milwaukee's streak was just
that's
horrible confidence boost. For that
there goes the head right there. The head inflates right there on that one.
Well, hey, let them have that then. Let them have their March national championship. That's fine by me. That's what I've been saying about Knicks fans too. I'm like, yep, just what you want is the peak in March. That's what most teams are trying to do. right there, right before the playoffs start. That's when you want to be playing your best basketball. Then when the playoffs start, you trail off and you lose in the second round. How about the Sacramento Kings though? Let's bring them back up.
Yeah,
because this is their debut.
Happy Hour Hoops favorite at this point. We talked about them as the League Pass, like one of our darlings on the League Pass. This team, They might just be good. They might not just be fun. They might just be good. Second in the West now. They have a legitimate chance to end as the 2 seed, and they've been probably one of the best, if not the best team post All-Star break.
And they've been the most consistent besides Denver in the West all year long. They have not fluctuated. They have been this pace all year long. It's impressive.
Agreed.
To the Kings.
Sabonis and Fox are just nasty.
Bro.
They're both so fucking good. Like you just have those two, and then they have a good roster around those guys. But those two can carry you, I think, a long way. How
Monk maybe wins 6th man of the year?
Monk, the resurgence of Monk, Keegan Murray just being like one of the best shooters in the league, like stepping like everybody wrote like rightfully, I think we're questioning when they picked him if it was gonna have like what the plan was, and he's just not.
I won't forget that.
Murray.
He's been unbelievable.
He's been awesome.
Yeah. He's got like 60 more threes than the next rookie. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
like
it's been crazy.
He's been on a tear. They're a lot of fun. But no one's gonna trust it until they're in the conference finals or something.
Didn't Malik Monk? I think Malik Monk almost went back to the Lakers in free agency and then chose the Kings. I think that's how that went down.
Well, good choice.
I could be wrong. But and then like the also on top of all of the Kings' success, like just the Kings calling their shot and trading away Halliburton for Sabonis.
Yep.
And like how well it's like
they knew where the roster was right now.
Yeah.
They knew that's what it needed.
And it's crazy too, because the way it looked right initially after the trade, and then the start of this year, it's like, wow, they got fleeced. Halliburton, and Halliburton's going to be an unbelievable point guard. He's already an unbelievable point guard. And I say this every time when we talk about the Kings. The Kings got a great player back too in Domantas Sabonis. He is unbelievable, and he has elevated this team offensively to another level.
He's better than he's ever been right now, too.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, so good on the Kings, man. I mean, we'll hopefully the Beam team can make some noise in the playoffs, but we'll see. Honorable mentions. I threw the Suns in there before the news came out today. No, I was. Oh yeah, true. Yeah. I forgot we took about. Yeah, Cavs honorable mention. Knicks.
They could be here because I wanted to put a third West team, and I'm like, we can't. Like, there's nobody to put.
So the beginning of this week, I had the Cavs I had the Suns in our power rankings at the 5 spot, and then the Kings took the 2nd seed in the West, and I was like, okay, they have to be in over the Suns. So I'll put the Suns at honorable mention, and then the KD news, they shouldn't be in the honorable mention. No. It's tough. I mean, KD and Booker, I was like, they should be here just for those two as is. But yeah, Cavs, Knicks. I mean, the Knicks are surging, man. Like
the Knicks, I wasn't gonna put the Cavs.
But then they lose to Charlotte.
They lose to the Hornets.
They're surging, and then they lose to Charlotte.
No, because I have to be consistent, Johnny. I have to be consistent because I have said all year that if you got somebody texted me about Tatum going off against the Hornets, I was like, all right, it's against the Hornets. Like anybody who has texted me, they're going off against the Hornets. Somebody, I just look, I'm like, it doesn't count. That's like playing on pro on 2K. Like now I'm gonna say rookie. That's disrespectful, but pro. Like, they're not putting up shit, bro. They're not doing anything to you. You're getting your buckets. You might miss some jumpers, but you're getting your buckets. They lost to that team, and it wasn't like. It was a choke down the end too. Like it was just bad execution. I watched it because I'm a sicko and I hate the Knicks and don't want them to do good things. And it was really enjoyable. And I paid for the price of the Sabres at the same time, but I think it was worth it.
Yeah. No, I think that is worth it.
But who's the third West team then? Who is it?
Who's the third best West team right now?
Who would you take if you couldn't take the Nuggets or the Kings and you had to pick a West team to make the finals? Who would you pick?
Clippers. I hate it so much.
Oh my God, you guys!
I hate it so. I know. I hate it so much. I'm taking a healthy Kawhi with Paul George as the number 2. They have 2 big men they can rotate in. I've liked what I've seen from Westbrook there. I know you'll have your turnovers every now and there, but he's that true point guard, a guy who can run the offense through that they need. Yeah. And I say this every time. I say this all the time with certain players, but Kawhi is in that category. People forget when healthy in these big games, he's a top 5 player in the NBA. And I will still argue that if you go a playoff series right now and we're doing a draft, and we're like, you get one player. You got to draft one player. For just the playoff series, Kawhi Leonard's going in my top 5. He is because we see him do this every year.
Here's my counter because I'm not picking the Clippers. And I talked shit on this
Well,
team
I'm just
earlier.
sure as hell not taking the Warriors. That's why I'm taking.
That's my number one pick is the Warriors. I'm taking the Warriors.
They don't win on the road, and they don't play enough defense for me to trust them.
I think it's fair to take them. I just
guy.
won't do
They
it.
have the number one guy. It's Steph Curry. You said top 5 Kawhi? Number 1 on that list for me is Steph. In the play, and Clay has been awesome.
It's fair. I mean, I can't argue that.
Do you guys see? I just tweeted this from our Twitter, but Klay Thompson starting at power forward tonight. The game that starts.
That's the most.
The game that starts in 3 minutes.
That's the most move of all time. They're just play small balls.
He is 6'7". He is 6'7" though, and they don't have Clark.
Steph Curry, Jordan Poole, DiVincenzo, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green.
DiVincenzo at
DiVincenzo. Oh no.
That's a small ball.
How many threes are they going to take tonight?
Yeah, I bet on the dubs tonight. So
can we bet on that? Can we bet on their total threes taken? Because I'm
sure. Yeah,
58. Like it's going to be ridiculous. That's absurd.
All right, you guys want to end with a quick this or that
Let's
do it.
The team we just talked about. Okay, happy hour hoops. This or that. Would you guys rather, out of these two teams, would you rather be the Kings, a 2 seed poised to make a playoff push? We just talked about it, or the Detroit Pistons, great, talented, young team, and they'll probably have a decent shot at Victor Wembanyama, Wemby, in the lottery in the NBA draft. So who are you taking? Kings, who probably won't make a conference final, but they're in the playoffs. You know, it'll be a hell of a run for them. Kings fans are ecstatic right now. Or the Pistons, who have, arguably just as an exciting roster as the Sacramento Kings, but just no success this year. Bottom of the league. But again, they might get Wembanyama in the draft.
Go ahead, Jake.
If Cade wasn't hurt, I'd probably pick the Pistons, but I'm scared that Cade got hurt. And I'll take the team that's winning right now over the theoretical winning of the Pistons. Although getting Wemby would change that equation, yes, obviously. But it's an if right now, so it's hard to take it on the if. And also, I should say bias, but this is just like my belief. I love De'Aaron Fox, and I don't know if Ivy or Cunningham will be better than De'Aaron Fox. It's no shade to either of those guys. Cade very well could be better than De'Aaron Fox, but that's still asking a lot of development for him, and Fox is only getting better. So I think that's what it is for me more than that. But it's tough because of the Wemby prospect. Even Scoot, even just having the number, if they have a number 2 pick and could trade it for somebody like an established guy to bring in with the young guys, like they're just the options that they could have with those high picks would be enticing.
I'm going Kings. I say this all the time. Kings are my favorite league pass team. They just play such exciting basketball. But I think the big reason, and Jake already brought it up, you're not guaranteed Wemby with the Pistons, right? You're not guaranteed. The Rockets and Spurs still exist. They are still basketball teams in the NBA. So I got to go with the Sacramento Kings. I still think the Kings can get better. I know Sabonis is up there a little bit. Harrison Barnes up there a little bit. Fox is still young. Murray's obviously a rookie this year. He's super young. I kind of like the Kings. I think maybe they could bring something in next year to help them, but we'll see how far it goes. But the big thing is the West is wide open. The West is wide open this year. You have a lot of good teams. You have the Grizzlies trending downward and the Pelicans trending downward. At the start of the year, we thought were huge threats, both trending downward. Denver has been the best team in the West all year. They lead by 7 games. But Denver has never really been trusted in the playoffs yet. They haven't had playoff success. And then you have the Warriors, who are the most experienced team, probably the best playoff experienced team here, but they've had their own problems all year long. Can't win on the road, can't play defense. So you're telling me you get the Sacramento Kings, possible 2, even 3 seed. Also, the Suns trending downward because they lost KD due to injury. Possibly getting a home playoff series or 2 home playoff series. You got to take that. Sacramento will be electric. They haven't had this in how long, guys? I mean, that's a team I got to pull for. I got to go with the Sacramento Kings because I think the West is wide open. I think this is a fun team. This is an exciting team, and you never really know what could happen. I'd rather take that than just the chance of getting Victor Wembanyama.
How do you think the NBA would feel about a Cavs-Kings finals? they would just like it gets shown on like ESPNU or something. They just be like
ESPN,
ESPN
News. ESPN News.
Just the ESPN Plus like only broadcasts. Like we're
They're
just,
just
like,
streaming it on the
I
NBA
would
app.
love it. I would. They'd be no. You know what? Shout out LeBron. It'd be a League Pass final. You'd need NBA League Pass to watch that final.
LeBron would be like, "Yo, Bronny could be playing in these finals right now."
Oh my gosh,
Dude,
it's so
I would
real,
also
though.
love that, but
Sacramento-
that would be the lowest rated finals ever.
ever.
Quite.
But I'm just saying, thinking of the Kings, like they have to be thought of as a finals. They are the most consistent team in the West besides the Nuggets. They've been the most consistent all year long. Like that says something, and that team is built for playoff basketball too. Like they have options everywhere and veterans who have been around and been in tough playoffs. Like Harrison Barnes is going to bring so much to that in that a playoff situation. Like I trust that guy explicitly in a playoff situation. They're going to be so much fun.
Sure.
Oh my God.
My answer to this or that is it's tough. Like as a fan, I would probably take Kings right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me, I'd rather be the Pistons just because it might literally just be because how much I've grown to like Jaden Ivey and Jalen Durant this year. Like they're both just so damn good and fun to watch. And then, like you said, Jake, like even if the pick isn't Wemby, like just adding another lottery pick to this group, and then fingers crossed that Cade comes back normal. If he's his normal self. They have, big beef stew, Isaiah Stewart down low still. They have Durant. They have Ivy, who's an incredible talent. If this team somehow did land Wemby, geez, man, the Detroit Pistons would be scary. But, that's all ifs, and the Kings are, currently doing it. So it is a tough one, but I think I'd go Pistons. And, yeah, that can be a show, fellas. How we feeling?
I think that was a great show.
It's March, baby.
Yeah,
let's go.
Time of the year, best time of the year. Gonna watch 200 college basketball games.
Oh, dude, I am giving the multicast on ESPN Plus the biggest workout I've ever gotten today. It's just been relentless streams just everywhere. It's amazing.
Love it.
Amazing. Yeah, so we'll have some March Madness coverage coming up. We'll have obviously our shows are always more NBA centric, but we'll have some more college hoops, March Madness centric shows in the future as soon as the tourney starts. But for now, it's Steve, it's Jake, it's myself, Dunny. This has been Happy Hour Hoops. Follow us on all socials at Happy Hour Hoops 1. Follow Trainwreck Sports. Follow the three of us. And yeah, later, guys.
See you guys.